All right, I'm Jordan Liker. I'm here with Paul and Josh um, for Module 16. We're looking at an essential question, uh, kind of looking at what my school does, my school process. We're in a team concept. We're our middle school. I'm at a middle school. We're broken up into teams, and so we actually meet every day as a team. And then one day a week we actually meet as PLCs. And so every teacher has two planning periods a day. One is a personal, one is a team or PLC plan. And so the departments kind of go over data that is gathered throughout the year. We use some data warehouses and some assessment tests. We use Infinite Campus, FastBridge for our screening tests. And so those are kind of our data warehouses. And then that data is disseminated between PLC groups and teams. But I will say that most of that data analysis happens in the math and language arts areas, as those are the areas that are under the state assessments. And so the other areas of the school do much less of the data analysis. We also have an MTSS coordinator that kind of helps compile this data, and it's for she works for placing students in interventions that need that. And then we have a BLT team, a building leadership team that helps in the decision making process of the school, and they actually kind of make those decisions for our school, and then that's implemented school wide. That team kind of does that. That's a group of teachers and the administration that kind of do that. But again, that most of that data analysis kind of happens in those state assessment areas, and little of it happens in other areas. And so, kind of like what I would like to see is some increase in the data analysis in those other areas and just the understanding. Um, and I'd like to see those PLCs actually meet more than once a week. It actually ends up being less than once a week because it's actually on Wednesdays on full weeks of school, and so it becomes less than once a week. And so I'd like to see some increase in those collaboration times, and then some increase in the training, either for department leaders or uh, for the staff as a whole, just to help understand what this data actually is and how we can actually apply that. As a science teacher, I teach science, and so as a science teacher, I'm in a position that I can kind of bridge that gap between the reading and the math very well. But we don't really know what that data means. So some increased professional development learning, we could definitely learn and be able to implement that into our classes.
With these PLCs that you have on Wednesdays, do you ever meet? Is it just focused on content, so just science teachers together, or is it ever grade level as well?
Yeah, so we have common plan periods. So it's all the science department meets at the same time. The English departments and so on, so forth there.
Does the BL team look at the data that often?
The BLT, it looks no, it does not look. It looks at three times a year. Basically, it's after quarters, and that's where we do our readjustment for student interventions. So at the end of the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, that's when they meet.
Do the teachers use the data in planning their lessons?
The teachers in the tested areas do. So math and language arts. If you're outside of that area, it's relatively little. In fact, I mean, I know at least in my department, we don't really look at it, nor do we really know what it means when we do see it.
Say, since science isn't tested by the state, like how do you personally use or at least create data so that you can use it in the science department?
Um,
Have you guys gotten to that step yet?
our data is really about just our own individual classrooms. So, as we're going through units or something like that, it's pre-tests to see what we need to cover, post-tests if we need to rehit some things like that. But um, it's just really within our own classrooms.
What grade do you teach?
A seventh grade.
Okay. What assessment test do you use?
Uh, for the science, we have no assessment tests at the seventh grade. There is a science assessment at the eighth grade level that tests sixth, seventh, and eighth grade combined.
Yeah.
And so, but that data, uh, it usually happens late enough in the year that we don't actually get that data by the end of the school year. And for the last several years, we haven't looked at it really much at all.
So what? I think we're on step 3.
Step three.
Yeah.
So what I'd kind of like to see is, um, well, the administration, I think if we provided some weekly guiding questions about data, and then they had some accountability measures with that, so every team and department was actually looking through that data and kind of creating a cohesive nature of our school. So we're all kind of looking at that. We can work through that, and then some training and some in-service that could teach the entire staff what that data means, so we can uh, use that data and implement it into our classrooms to help those needed areas, to help so we can get those students closing gaps and strive for that continuous improvement.
So what it sounds like what you're asking is that you want us to, or you're looking for like just, well, first off, at science, you need data, and then you need training on that data and how to use it in your classroom.
Yeah. I mean, we need that data, that training, to how to use it, and then I mean, really from as a future administrator, I think you got to have those accountability measures, because if you don't have something like that, there's going to be a lot of teachers that just don't ever really look at it. I mean, they're supposed to look at it, but if they actually look at that and apply it, and if we're striving for continuous improvement, it needs to happen the entire school. We can't have certain areas left out, because as we all know that teaching reading or math does not just occur in a reading or math class. It applies to other areas as well.
Couple thoughts I've got, I don't know, maybe offer professional development sessions to help teachers interpret the data and understand it so they can teach it better. Have leadership be involved with the use of data in the classroom. And offer, last thought is offer challenging curriculum or whatever to the best of your ability. So
yeah, some suggestions I just thought of too. If your district's really not giving you this professional development, do they ever like offer to where you could go outside of the district and get professional development yourself, like find those conferences? Maybe through that, at least as a teacher now, as a further administrator, you hopefully will obviously be providing it, but if you need it now. And then I'm not sure if you're part of the building leadership team, but you said they look at the data. Have you ever sat in on, I would suggest sitting in on them and maybe voicing your concerns if they allow that.
Yeah, that would be a great suggestion there. And no, I'm not part of that leadership team. In fact, we don't have any science science teachers on that team at all. And so we've done some of that learning. I know I'm actually this year I'm the department head for my school this year, starting this year. And so I've actually started working with the English and math departments, and we're doing some peer observations, and then they're coming into ours as well, our department meetings, to help us kind of understand this data a little bit better. But that's kind of at our teacher level, and so it's kind of left up to the teachers if they do that or not right at this moment.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
boys, let me see if I can get this set.